Welcome to another episode of Roadmen Reviews.
Hey! That's the new intro.
That was a different one.
Every week I'm going to try something fresh just to, you know.
I'd rather you just said hello.
Yeah, I'm not capable of human speech, Muffid, I'm sorry. Hello ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for joining us again on another brand new episode of Roadman Reviews. Joining me as always is Mr. Muffid Hassan. Hello Muffid.
Hi there, how are you guys doing?
And our other very cool guest, Big A himself, Mr. Ahmed. What's going on?
Hello. How are you guys doing?
Good. Okay, question before we dive in, guys. If you were a drug dealer from the cartel, who would your go-to drug dealer name be? What would your drug dealer name be? Yeah. I think El Rocco would be you, Muffy. And I think your one would be Black Thunder, Ahmed.
You can tell it's planned as
Yeah. I didn't plan it. This is literally just for the moment.
Because you did that. Right, question for you guys. Even though I probably wrote it down and...
He hasn't even introduced what we're reviewing.
He had a few days. He had a few days to write it down. I think, okay, I need to come up with a better joke because I'm not good at jokes.
Hey, listen, after last week episode.
So what would you be?
After last week episode.
Chacho.
Yes, come on. It makes
A
sense.
chacho, there you go.
What?
If you haven't figured it out,
Yeah.
well, I was going to say they are going to be reviewing American Made.
I know. You see, we were trying to thought Narcos. Then I thought a lot of people might have thought we'd be talking about Narcos, but no, it's not happening.
We could do Narcos.
We could do. Maybe that'll be a future episode if enough people watch
Yeah.
this. Yeah. So yeah, as Ahmed mentioned, we're going to be talking a little bit today about American Made. It was released in the UK, I think, a little bit earlier than it was over in the States. So we thought we'd just give you our quick initial thoughts about it. And when I say we, like Ahmed said, it'll be me and Muffy talking about it because one of us was a little bit tied up on the day when we went to go and watch it. Isn't that right? So. Yeah, I mean, what's your excuse, Ahmed? What was your excuse?
It was my 1 year anniversary. So I had to be romantic. I love you.
Oh, I like this. You're putting that in good.
Made in Birmingham.
Made in Birmingham. Yeah.
As opposed to made in America.
I like that. So, just to go over the story very, very quickly of American Made, it stars a gentleman, everyone knows who he is, Tom Cruise, as a guy called Barry Seal, who was a TWA pilot, who was recruited by the CIA to provide recon on the communist threat to Central America, and soon found himself in charge of the biggest covert CIA operation in the history of the United States, which is quite interesting. So, I mean, just diving straight in with you, maybe it's best to get your thoughts on this. I mean, what was your initial thoughts, sort of the film overall, and what did you expect of the film before you kind of saw it?
I thought there'd be more, because it's revolved around a person that piloted drugs and all the other things between America and Colombia, and then the other place in between. What was the other place in between called?
I can't remember that.
I forgot what it was called now. But because it was that era, I assumed there'd be more violence and more sort of maybe sort of torture, maybe him getting tortured and bullied and then put back into the cartel and being forced basically to pilot drugs from cocaine to Miami and vice versa. But it was less of that. It was more about his story and how he which is true because it is around his life. I just thought there'd be more torture and violence, and because you just associate that era with
the drug kind of
drugs,
movies
and everything's like dark and you just don't want to mess with those sort of people, and there's a reason why. So yeah, that was my thoughts.
I agree with you. I mean, this movie was quite interesting because I went into it not really knowing anything about it, if that makes sense. I don't even think I really watched the trailer for this. I maybe saw a TV advert for it or something like that, and didn't really know a lot. And kind of overall thoughts. Obviously, I really liked the film. I thought it was genuinely like a very a solid kind of Tom Cruise starring kind of caper thriller kind of film.
Yeah.
But one of the things that really struck me about the film, I think more than anything else, was the fact that it was surprisingly upbeat, if that makes sense. Most films about drugs and most films about kind of cartels and people getting involved, they always kind of go into the wall of excess and the money that they earn, which this film did obviously have scenes in where they had so much money that he didn't kind of know where to put it. it always had like this really nice optimistic vibe to it as
Yeah,
well.
like
even
it was,
though
They sort of presented a lavish lifestyle.
yeah, exactly right.
Of him,
Yeah.
but it all came to a conclusion in the end because. Spoiler alert for the audience and Ahmed, he dies.
Yeah, he dies at the end.
He dies at the end.
No. I'm joking.
I mean, it's actually the surprising thing, I think, more than anything else, was the fact that it was based off a true story. I mean, it was based off of a real guy who actually went through this stuff. I mean, going through the film, I mean, he was a sort of a pilot who was kind of disinterested in his life, and the CIA came to him to take pictures of like rebel uprisings. I believe it was it wasn't in Colombia.
It was not Mexico.
Was it El Salvador? Was it? It was one of the South American countries anyway. So he was doing that, and then somehow, you know, Pablo Escobar and the brothers, I can't remember what the brothers' names were actually.
Ochoa and
the Ochoa brothers, I think it was. Yeah, they kind of started like getting involved with him to kind of like supply drugs back to America.
Yeah.
And then he got kind of caught doing that, and then he had to kind of work for like the rebels in that country, which is like really weird. And then at the end, he was about to kind of get sort of taken over, and then the White House called, and he started working for the White House to kind of take pictures of the drugs. It was just...
We were just talking about his CV.
Yeah.
And if he went into any interview and thought to himself, okay, I need to get a job, and then the employer was to look at his CV, and then he'd see the Medellin cartel, CIA, White House. Who else did he work for?
Oh, the TWA Airlines as well.
That's
the CIA as well, yeah.
It's like, it's like just... Okay, I work for the president. Take me on, sort of thing.
The question I was going to ask is, in the film,
Yeah.
I mean, you said you mentioned he started helping the rebels and he died.
Yeah, but
No.
So,
He died in the end of the film, basically.
At the end of the film,
because, to cut a long story short, at the end of the film, the White House called him to take pictures of the drug dealers that he was working for initially, so Pablo Escobar and those
first hand,
guys.
so pictures of them actually dealing the drugs or handling the drugs, etc.
Because I don't know if you guys watched Narcos. He's mentioned in Narcos in season 1.
He is, yeah.
And they mentioned, obviously, that's how it was. For people who watch Narcos, they know he dies.
Yeah.
Or how he dies anyway.
Yeah.
Where he gets shot up by the Medellin cartel.
Yeah, basically right at the end.
Oh.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. Okay.
Yeah, so his CV is
it's very, very interesting. Probably the most interesting, yeah.
And coming back to what you were saying about upbeat, it's as if through each period or through each phase, you'd think, okay, maybe after the phase of the CIA and taking pictures, and then working with the cartel at the same time, he'd get caught up in something, and something would happen to him, but he sort of seems to get away with things, and day by day, it's like, oh, I'm working for these guys now.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine. And then he's sort of ditch the other guys to work for these guys, and then he'll ditch those guys to work for these guys, and then eventually he thought, okay, the White House is calling me.
I guess
I don't want to go to prison. I'll work for them.
I guess it was just the kind of guy. The best way to describe the main character that Tom Cruise plays is just kind of like a guy who just really didn't give a shit and was just in it for himself, and he lived the life how he wants to live. So
I mean, yeah.
Props to him, I guess.
He did love his family,
exactly,
which is why he sent him away. So he died on his own. It was just
a very funny, good film, I think.
It was a very funny movie.
So going on to kind of some of it very quickly, I mean, just touching upon some of the other characters and the actors very quickly. I mean, obviously Tom Cruise is the big star of the film, you know. I mean, he's kind of the one that kind of stands up. But just in terms of the supporting cast, I think, you know, most of the actors do serviceable jobs. I think the guy who played Pablo Escobar, he was alright, you know, it's just kind of like a standard thing. But
I thought he, to be fair, well, in the Medellin cartel and Pablo Escobar, when you think about him, you think about him as the one in the Medellin cartel. But in that movie, it felt like the older Ochoa brother was the bigger person until maybe halfway or 3/4 into the movie, where he keeps talking about Pablo Escobar's not happy, etc., which is when you get a sort of, you know, an insight into he's not a happy person, and you know, he's quite violent in that respect.
But I mean, the one that kind of stood out for me more than anything else was the CIA agent. I believe he was played by, is it Donald Gleason or something like that? His name is. I always forget how to pronounce
guy
his
that
name.
plays something else.
He's in loads of things, yeah. But I mean, he was the one that kind of stood out for me because it was one of those roles where he was a little bit underwritten, but he did what he needed to in the film, and he kind of presented that vibe that you hated him, you love to hate that guy. He was just a dick, you know what I mean, kind of thing. He played the dick very well. Let's just say that.
And even at the end, when he was trying to get rid of all the papers and etc., to not be associated with Tom Cruise before he was getting arrested, basically, he was just trying to make sure to cover his own back. He didn't care about anyone else. He just wanted to do what he wanted to do, and he wasn't even listening to his supervisor. He used to do what he wanted to do, even though his supervisor was saying, you know, what you guys doing, etc. But yeah, it was a fun movie.
He's the one I think that stood out more than anything else in terms of the supporting actors and stuff. Okay, so moving.
I didn't like his nephew.
His nephew. Oh yeah, don't get me started on it. Yeah, he was, I can't even remember what his name was.
Tom Cruise's nephew.
Yeah,
he dies anyway.
Yeah, he was a cunt too.
What about his partner, his wife, or?
She didn't really have a big role in the film, to be honest with you. She was more
about,
like the emotional support kind of person. But
she'd shout at him now and again and say to him oh, we can't live this life, all this money, etc, etc. And then I think initially he says, oh, I'm working for CIA, and then she realizes there's just bags of money. When I say bags of money in the house, it's literally a matter of like he doesn't know where to dig it anymore. His backyard's full. The pilot hangar which he owned, he owned like 10 acres of land that the CIA gave him, and that whole hangar was just stashed full of cash. He literally he was that sick and tired. Every time he used to go to Colombia and come back with bags, he used to think, okay, where do I put it? It was like, why are you giving me? I don't need any more. But
it was pretty nuts. It was pretty nuts. Okay, so moving on then to, before we wrap up, just talking about some of the other general things about the film. So I'm looking about like the musical score, the way it was shot, the kind of the general other things that people don't really talk about in films. I think one of the biggest thing, first of all, that stood out for me was the fact that it was a period piece film, and what I loved about this film is it genuinely felt like it was kind of shot in the 80s and kind of the 90s. It wasn't like period piece films where they kind of just, it looks like it could have been kind of shot today, it actually looked genuinely like a period piece, which I really liked. I love the kind of fact that it had almost this yellowy orange haze over the entire film. The cinematography had that kind of thing, and also like the soundtrack as well. If I remember, it didn't really have like a lot of songs in the film.
No,
but it had
it
was a few, but the music kind of fit with the vibe of the film and everything like that. So that really kind of stood out for me. And I really like that kind of stuff about the film as well.
Yeah, for me, similar. Basically, it was just it all worked together. It all worked. I mean, it's not like a graphic, you know, where they have to do CGI and everything. It's just a normal movie. It's got music that's relevant to the era and the sort of scenario in which they in which the movie's set in. It's just generally.
I really like the pace of the film as well, and in the sense of I was never bored of the film. This is what I often talk about pace in films and stuff, and this is a good example of good pace. You know, every scene built off the last one, and there was a purpose to every scene. It just flowed very, very naturally and cleanly, whereas other films, Batman vs Superman doesn't. You know what I mean? So
that's gone on. That's done and dusted.
So just wrapping up then, just really quickly, in terms of initial scores. I mean, Ahmed, let's start with you. What's your fake make believe score of this film?
So
just
based on what we said, would you go and watch the movie?
Yeah, based on what you said, I'd watch it.
If he didn't spoil it for you.
No, to be fair, it's a type of story. I think
watch it anyway.
You already know pretty much all drug runners will end up dead anyway.
Yeah.
But I think probably the only question I would have is that type of film, and you watch it, you enjoy it, you forget about 6 months later.
Possibly.
Maybe, I think that's a valid point. This film reminds me, what was that?
Yeah, but there's a lot of films like that.
No, which is not criticism, isn't, don't watch it.
What was that? War Dogs. Do you remember War Dogs?
Yes.
I think I put this film and War Dogs on the same level, in the sense of good films, solid films and stuff like that. I don't think they'll go down as like classics or anything like that, but they're just fun, enjoyable films that kind of paint a picture of the story.
But I think when you mentioned the name of the film, like War Dogs, you used to remember what happens in the film.
Yeah.
There's certain movies where you watch it and then it's literally gone.
Yeah.
Time.
Time.
Remember the film Time?
Oh, In Time. Justin Timberlake. Yeah.
I can't remember half the film.
That's true.
Even that, I don't know what that movie is. I'm sure I watched the movie, but with American Made, I think you still remember it.
Yeah.
Okay.
My score is
1 Ahmed out of 1.
So for me, I'd give it a solid 7.
Solid 7? Yeah, I think 7.5 for me. I think 7. I was thinking 8, but the more I'm thinking about it, 7.5. I think solid.
He said 7, and then he said and a 0.5.
And a 0.5. 7.5.
7.5.
So you're putting it quite high up with the Spider-Mans and the.
That's implying that I can remember what I gave the last movies. You know what I mean? That's a very good.
That's a very
so I think 7? I don't know. I can't remember. But for me, 7.5. It was a solid film. Really enjoy it. I'd recommend people to go and check it out if they can. If it's still in cinemas, just really enjoy it. But Yeah, that was our review of American Made.
Yeah, we can wrap up there because
There's nothing
short and sweet like the movie.
So again, Ahmed and Mufi, thank you very much for popping around today, as if this wasn't pre-planned. You guys just wanted to see We'll obviously catch you guys next week. As always, feel free to catch us on Facebook at Roadman Reviews, Twitter at Roadman Reviews, our YouTube channel here, Roadman Reviews, our SoundCloud Roadman Reviews, Instagram. Yes, we have an Instagram account. We have no pictures on there, but you can imagine what we look like and post them there if you want. That's fine. And we will speak to you guys very, very soon. So yeah, thanks for your time. And
goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye.